please, once again, don't feel, let me just, oh, well, good. I got freaked out for a second there. Now, this is probably one of the most difficult transitions to do, because you have to be very focused and bang on the beat for it to work. So switching from a sort of housey, progressive sort of beat into a more sort of groove style drop. So that line finishes, and just before the beat that everyone's expecting to happen, like in the first one, we cut it to something more aggressive. So we've added in the effects that we wanted to. We're creating a similar sort of vibe to the first one, and we're sort of teasing the audience and be like, okay, here we go. It's gonna happen again. But then we stop, the vocal plays, and then there's a slight pause. And then within that section there, we have maybe 1 bar, max 2, and we switch into the next piece. The main reason this is, I find quite challenging, is because you're dealing with low-end information very rapidly. You're cutting out all the first one, but then you're bringing in the second one. You bring all of the information very, very quick, and if it's not done right, it can just be very messy, and yeah. So we've brought in the second one already. Brought in the second fader for the piece. That's all been done through this process. We've brought in that second one, it's ready to go. Now what we're doing is we're gonna cut the Genghis Khan, we're gonna cut that piece, we're gonna cut it out, and then we're gonna press play on the second one, almost simultaneously, and then we're transitioning and the next drop happens. So as it goes boom, you're flicking the fader of the track that's been playing, the second one starts, and that's how you do it. Fundamentally, it is quite simple. You just go, okay, bam, this one, poof. But what adds the complexity is you really have to make sure you trust the beat. Not only looking at the stream, but knowing that counting your time, you're working with the music and then cutting it in. You'll notice that we can go bam, that so you'll notice that also slightly, we're just a tad late. If you listen to it very, very, very diligently, you'll hear that we just clipped the first piece, and that's where the complexity for it comes in, because you have all that information, and even when you cut the low end, you can cut the low end out as well, which I didn't do when again, just kind of you quickly cut it out, but you got to be so focused on this one that you sometimes forget. But that's a possibility. If you have this like sort of moment where it's just a vocal, you could potentially try to squeeze out some of the low end, and then cut it quickly. But you notice that we made it, but a little bit of leakage comes out from the first piece when we do the cut. but it's not so noticeable. It's you know, it's not bam, it's and yeah, and it works. Like I mentioned before, great little Easter egg to have the switch on, you know, the vinyl sort of ability to sort of pause the piece, and you can play around with it. You can pause it and you can add a bit of effect to it like we just did there and create something fun, you know. So adding a bit of a shimmer in there, or just pausing it and letting the tail come through of the pause, and then we're bringing it back in. Cool. There you go. Yeah, please, once again, don't feel. Well, let me just. Oh, well, good. I got freaked out for a second there. Yeah, please don't feel overwhelmed by something like this. This is definitely pushing what's possible on the decks, just because you are dealing with a very small window, and it's nothing more than just practice. It's fundamentally, well, I'm not sure how many times I said fundamentally. That's really what comes down to, is practice. And again, like I mentioned before, there's those principles of knowing that the harmonic content, understanding the melody of the pieces, figuring out if this is going to work, and understanding why is it going to work well together. You notice when you listen to it that melodically they do have a good amount of similarities to them, but again, they are two different songs, so they do work well together. It's almost like a sort of big room remix of the first song. What else did I want to say? Yeah, so take it on board, but don't discourage yourself. Just take the main points that you can from it and apply it to what you're doing, and then come back in a month's time, a year's time, whenever you feel more confident with it, and then see if it's something that you can approach in what you're doing.